Yeah, this administration has plenty of authority to bring this under control. Yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Ms. Escobar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always fascinating to me to hear folks talk about how often they've been to the border or they parachute in to observe the border. I live on the U.S.-Mexico border. I represent a wonderful community on the border, raised my kids on the border, proud third-generation border resident. There's so much to fact-check in the conversation that's gone on to this point. It's hard to pick. But let me start with number one, this idea that the president alone can essentially change the status quo on immigration. If that were true, why would my Republican colleagues have put so much time and energy into filing their immigration bill, H.R. 2, which, by the way, relies almost completely on Mexico to accept nearly every migrant arriving at the southern border, something that's never happened, something that will never happen. Not only is it an interesting irony that they say the president can do it, but here's our great bill that will solve it, again, kind of incongruous. But I'd like to introduce a couple of articles into the record, so I'd ask unanimous consent. The first from June 20th, 2018, Washington Post, and the headline, Trump urges House GOP to fix immigration system. Second article from January 1st, 2019, Politico, the article where the president says, current authorities are woefully inaccurate to meet the scope of the problem, said President Trump, complaining about illegal or gaps in U.S. law.
Without objection.
Thank you so much. Also, there's a letter that President Trump sent us January 4th, 2019, a letter to Congress asking Congress to take action. So the whole premise of this hearing is that the president alone can do it. Donald Trump, throughout his tenure, was asking Congress to act. The second falsehood that I would like to debunk, one of our witnesses said, quote, Dems don't want an end to this crisis. I'd like to refresh everyone's memory that there have been multiple efforts to address our broken immigration system where Democrats actually were willing to vote in a bipartisan manner. 2006, 2014, 2018. Every single one of those bills included strong border security components along with legal pathways. Who sabotaged the bills all of those years? It was Republicans. And then this year, 2024, no longer were Democrats demanding legal pathways in exchange for border security. On the Senate side, Republicans got everything they wanted in what was called the toughest border bill ever by Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Before there was even any ink on paper, Republicans decided to abandon that effort because, as a member of this committee, Mr. Nils, said very transparently, why would we fix the problem going into an election? And former President Trump himself said, I don't want them to fix it, they can blame me. So much more to debunk, but I'd like to actually close by asking one of our experts, Mr. Reichland-Melnick, thanks to the work that you do. You know, the Republican colleagues frequently complain that Democrats are open borders, which couldn't be further from the truth. But the only people going on TV consistently talking about open borders are Republicans. Can you tell us what impact that makes, what message that sends to migrants, to have Republicans constantly talking about open borders in America?
Well, I think as we've seen over the last decade, you know, migrant misinformation shared with migrants is a very heavy driver of people coming to the border. And to the extent that people say things like the U.S. border is open, I think it does send a message. But of course, in 2018, when I was down talking to separated families, I saw people tell me, I had one person tell me, President Trump opened the border to families. That's why I'm here. So this misinformation is not new. It's not something that's just happening now in the last 3 years.
And unfortunately, there's plenty of misinformation coming from the other side of the dais and from some of our panelists. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Mr. Van Drew.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, I guess the other side's trying to say here we had never had a secure border.